All right, we got about 1 minute.
And I'll share the link to the video and the discussion guide in the chat if anyone wants to use this with their organization or company or just a community setting.
Okay, that is perfect. I saw that had the YouTube symbol on there, so I was going to ask that.
Yeah, you can find it on our YouTube channel, but all of our videos with the guide on our website, so I can share that.
Okay. All right, we're right at the 10 o'clock hour. All right, hello everyone. We have 2 speakers this month. We had our 3rd speaker back out at the very last minute. So we are going to have SHELBIE Lambert and Thao Lee. And Thao is up very early. She's in Hawaii and wanted to do this live. So it's 6 a.m. where she is. But we're going to have SHELBIE go first. And SHELBIE's going to share with us a grant video and then a discussion guide afterwards. So SHELBIE has her presentation already up there for us. So we'll go ahead and let her get started.
All right, thank you so much. I just wanted to give a brief intro. I'm with the Southwest Ag Center. We're located in Tyler, Texas. And when you hear grant video, that's actually the name of the person that's in the video. His name's Grant Heinrich, and he's a farmer ag aviator in Lubbock, Texas. And we started this project called Home Safe Home. And really it highlights different injury testimonials in the field of agriculture. But this video episode 4, and it focuses on the mental health side of agriculture of our other ones, but it's made a really big impact, and we've heard a lot of good responses from it, thanking us for sharing this video and his story. So 1 second while I put that outside, and I will jump on. Let me get this started for you guys. All right, Carrie, you can see the screen, correct?
Yes, everything looks great.
Perfect. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started here. I wanted to go over a few mental health myth busters. I think a few of us in this space are pretty familiar with what mental health is and how it affects people and ourselves, but I think specifically around suicide, it's just good for us to know this kind of information when we're talking with people in the field or even coworkers about myths around suicide specifically. So the first one is talking about suicide increases the chance a person will act on it. I think this is a huge one for a lot of people. They're worried about bringing it up, worried about talking about it, but there's actually been research to show that it does not increase someone's chance to act on their thoughts of suicide. So talking about it actually does help reduce rather than increase suicidal ideation. And it can help improve mental health related outcomes and then the likelihood that someone might seek out treatment. So it is important that we do talk about it. We do bring it up if we're in a relationship or a place where we can talk about this with someone. And it's important that we do open up that conversation, that line of communication with someone. Another myth is barriers to bridges. So safe firearm storage and other actions to reduce access to lethal methods of suicide doesn't work. So when we talk about, when someone's having suicidal thoughts, or maybe we're worried about their behavior change, they're not acting like themselves. One of the things we want to do, especially for those in agriculture, is reduce the access to lethal means like firearms. So people in agriculture, workers, it's pretty common for us to have firearms in the house, around the house, especially more than one. And so it's important that we understand where those are located and, again, reduce their access to them in the case that they are having suicidal thoughts. Another myth is suicide always occurs without warning. And I think this is one that sometimes we think when we hear about a story of someone dying of suicide, we think, you know, I never knew they were struggling. I never knew they were going through that. We often define it as kind of the silent killer in rural communities. But there are warning signs that we can look for, and I'm not going to get into all of them today. That is something that some of us might be familiar with, or you can go to our website or NAMI or some other websites for that information. But just remember that there are warning signs that we can look for, and it's not something that's just going to happen without our knowledge or out of the blue. So I'm going to play this video. It's about 9 minutes. And this is, again, episode 4 with Grant Heinrich of the Home Safe Home series. And he's going to tell his story about mental health, his experience with suicide. And you might want to turn up your volume just so you can make sure you can hear it.
The first thing that goes through your head when you hear of somebody taking their own life, shock. And then I guess your immediate question next is why? You know, why would they do something like that? I would say it's left a pretty big scar on our family. I sure think about them a lot. Yeah, if you don't mind, we're fixing to get started on this other load, and just call me back and confirm if you don't mind. Just after you get a hold of him or whatever, and if that's the case, we'll load it up and we'll go get it done this morning. All right, man. Thank you. Cool. Thanks, Blake. Bye. Bye. My name is Grant Heinrich. I am from Slayton, Texas. I grew up on a cotton farm about 8 miles from here. I went to high school at Lubbock Cooper and went on to college at West Texas A&M University, and I got a degree in plant, soil, and environmental science. Got into the ag aviation industry and fell in love with it, and I have been in this seat ever since. The community that I service is not only a lot of my family, but a lot of our neighbors and family friends that I've known my entire life. With farming also, what's really awesome about it is you get the ability to be around your family and your community and really strengthen the bond that you have with like your parents and your siblings. And, you know, I couldn't imagine bringing my kids up any other way. Really, this year is looking pretty bleak for our 2022 crop. Like what we were just spraying was irrigated, but even with the irrigation that we have here, it's not enough without any rainfall to really make a crop. Before about 10 days ago, we were over 200 days without any significant measurable rainfall in this area, and until we get a little bit of help from Mother Nature, you know, that's going to constantly be on our back. The stress of the ag industry that we're in can play a huge role in weighing on people's mental health. This was about 2 years ago. We had a farmhand needing a part-time job. He is about 4 years younger than I am. And so really he was like the younger brother I never had. And we were working out on, we were fixing drip leaks, we were doing some of the not so things, pulling weeds, and I really got to know him and got to help train him, helped him learn how to drive a tractor, and all of those things, you know, that you might teach a sibling, and got really close with him. When I got into this business shortly after I moved to this office, I got a text message. Just happened to be looking down at my phone. I got a text message, and basically what it was his last goodbye. And I glanced down, I looked at it just sent, and I was like, oh my God, he's still alive. Like, I've got to go find him. I jumped out of the seat, got in my pickup, and got on the phone because I knew he was out at the farm somewhere. Unfortunately, in my life, I've been around suicide way too much. I've had an uncle and 2 cousins pass away by suicide. One when I was in college. It was on my 19th birthday, and he was like an older sibling to me. Honestly, he was my Superman, and he was everything I wanted to be. And when he passed away, it felt like we were so strong as a family. We had a rock solid family, but that day it felt like the foundation cracked. The way I heard my aunt cry at that funeral, I told myself I could never allow that to happen to my family ever again. It's about 12 minutes to get from this office to the farm, and I think I made it in about 6. So as I was pulling up, a couple of our other farmhands were pulling up to the barn. They were, asking me what we needed to do. I said, y'all, go around and start checking the inside of the pieces of equipment. And, the whole time my heart was beating. I was scared to death of what I was going to walk up on. And I was so afraid that he had already made a bad decision. And when I saw him, he had a revolver in his mouth, and he was crying. And I remember just being so thankful that he was still alive. I said, can I talk to you? It's kind of a blur how it all happened, but I had just had my first child about 6 months prior to this. And so I got to talking to him about how proud I was of my son, and that I knew that his parents were proud of him, and that they wanted him around because I was so proud to have my kid. I kind of got him talked off the ledge a little bit. He put the gun down and put it kind of by his side, but he still had it in his hand, and we all kind of were able to just talk to him. And I told him, I was like, look, dude, we're all here for you. We're all right here for you. Ultimately, he laid the gun down and walked over to me, and I gave him the biggest hug. I gave him the biggest hug that I could give him, because I was like, man, I was just so proud that we got to keep him, because I know what that can do to a family, and he's got such a big family, and I was just so proud that day that and you got to go home. We all have to go home. We all have to go home. About a year or so after when my cousin passed away, there was a lot of concern in our family for, this potentially happening to one of, the other cousins. And I kind of took that really hard. I was like, listen, I don't want to feel like I need to go see somebody. Don't make me out to be that, But I think a lot of times in the culture that we have with our people in agriculture is we're hard-headed. We don't want to admit that we have a problem, and we damn sure don't want to go see anybody about it. And I would say that could be one of our biggest downfalls is that we're too prideful. We can talk about weather, drought, high prices all day long, and how tough things can be. But a lot of our biggest problem is we're getting eaten up inside about something. There's professionals out there in the world for a reason. And I think that a lot of the times that when you have to go see somebody like that, it comes off as a weakness. But in reality, that's okay. That's okay. We don't like to talk about it a whole lot, but I've always heard that, if you refuse to talk about it, it's like that person died twice.
Okay, so at the very end of the video, we included the 988 line, but we also have AgriStress helpline for Texas that's available. So we would add that to the end of this video and share with our Texas partners and Texas producers. So as we go on to the discussion guide, I know I have just a couple minutes. And although we may not have time to go through all of this, I just wanted to say that the discussion guide is available on our website. And so if this is a tool that you'd like to use in your workplace, organization, company, share with fellow producers, we basically go through just kind of how to have a discussion around this kind of video. So we'll ask, what are some general reactions? What would your response be to seeing warning signs in someone that you know? How do you think helping someone experiencing these signs can help both of you, and how? What are feelings and reactions experienced by someone that has nearly lost or has lost someone to suicide? So it just goes through a few questions around the video. We have some ag specific questions. How can we make it easier to talk about mental health in agriculture? How can we get more of the ag community involved in talking about mental health? What are the stressors in ag that can contribute to worry, hopelessness, or helplessness? What are the protective aspects of working in ag for suicide? So we have a few just different questions just to spur on a fruitful conversation. It's a hard conversation to have, but it's definitely worth it for someone who's experienced losing someone to suicide. Like Grant said in the video, if we don't talk about it, it's like we've lost them twice. And so we know that suicide in the ag community is like a silent killer. People suffer in silence because of that stigma. And so as mental health professionals, as those who work in agriculture, it is so vital for us to learn how to have the conversation, to recognize signs and symptoms, and to find tools, maybe like this video and discussion guide, so that we can start talking about it more in our community and with those around us. So this is our website. It's farmlifehealth.com. This is in partnership with the Texas Department of Agriculture, as well as we provided the funding so that the Texas AgriLife could help us create this video. They traveled to Lubbock for us and interviewed Grant for the video. And so we're going to continue to make more like this. They may not all have a mental health focus, but we have all 4 episodes on our website if you'd like to watch those later. And there's also a specific community discussion guide for the first 3 videos, as they are more focused on safety. All right.
All right, and I put in the chat that you were going to go ahead and share those links as well, so they'll be looking for that. Anybody who has any questions, just go ahead and unmute, and you can ask Shelby, or if you can't talk, you can go ahead and enter them in the chat.
I'll jump in first. Hi, Shelby. So I used this video last month for a large cooperative conference that I was asked to present at, and it was for young producers here in the Heartland. And I was the only health component of this conference. It was a lot about the business of farming business. And so what I did, Shelby, is I led in about stress. The conference committee chairs asked for me to talk about mental ruggedness and the culture within agriculture. And so I led in with some interaction about how stress looks on us physically, mentally, and spiritually. And then I had some interaction with the crowd. And so in the last third of that presentation, and I watched this video at least 4, maybe 5 times, just because I really wanted to grasp the undertones and be prepared for discussion. And I have to say this video, because we have young sons, we live in farm and ranch, well, farm country, not ranch country, but farm country. And it's spot on. How Grant relates, how he talks is exactly how I hear our young producers talk about mental health, the farming business. And so I think that's what caught their eye. And so when I showed the video, I just watched the room for the nonverbals, and you could see the look of concern and worry and heartache that came forward. And then after the video, and it was on a big screen, so we can't hear all of the fine details that Shelby just showed us, but it's very impactful. Then I went into the discussion guide, and I used just 4 questions, and they were pretty quiet. I could tell they were just processing. And one question I asked about Grant, how did Grant step forward? I can't remember exactly the wording of that question, Shelby, but one producer said that he showed a lot of empathy and care because he loved his family so much. And so it really left a lasting impression. That was like the crescendo of my whole presentation, was that video. It really drove home a lot of those parts and pieces. And so hats off, Shelby, to you and your team for and Grant for putting together that great video and the discussion guide.
Yeah, I don't take any credit. I think what made this so impactful was that we found one person, that's all it took, to share his story about what he's experienced. And I think what's so different about this, but also encouraging, is that we see 2 sides of the coin. One where a life was saved, which we don't always hear about, and 2, he has experienced losing someone by suicide. So he's seen both sides. He's seen how it affects his community and his family and his friends. So he's lived a lot. And it's really amazing to hear his stories. And I think I get emotional every time I watch it. I've seen it a million times, but
it's stirring within. It's moving.
Definitely.
All right, anybody else have any questions for Shelby?
I have a quick question. I am from Texas, and I work for a health department here. I'm not a professional, medical professional at all, but I do videos talking about suicide prevention and awareness. And I wanted to see if I could get some information that would help me do stronger videos. We put on Facebook, and I'd like to reach out and find someone, maybe a mental health professional in our area, who could go on camera with me. We have farm and ranch land to the west of us. Well, I'm in Wichita Falls, so we sit just above Dallas-Fort Worth. We're right under the Red River. So we have a lot of farmers, wheat farmers, cotton. I think there's some other foods that they do, but I wanted to be able to reach these folks through Facebook and maybe some other social media platforms. So if someone could send me that, I can put my email address. I think you guys have my email address for this particular webinar. So, but I can put that in the chat, I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say, put it in the chat. Shelby's fantastic. If you ever go to any swag social media site, I mean, Shelby does a phenomenal job with her content. So she would be able to definitely give you some ideas and pointers.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'll let you two connect and you can do that in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd be happy to help. Lisa, did you have a question? I just saw your hand emoji.
Yes, thank you. I'm also in Texas, and I benefited greatly from the farm safe training that I'm a licensed counselor. So the board that oversees licensed counselors allowed access to that farm safe training from AgriSafe and for counselors, and it was really helpful. And like Carol was saying, I know there's a need. I'm kind of near some rural areas because I'm on the very edge of the metro Houston area. So I'm getting into the area where it's there are not enough mental health professionals here. But the problem for me is, as a mental health professional, is how these people in need of the services, farmers and agricultural workers, there's often the issue of payment, that they can't afford the service, and then someone like me has expenses associated with providing the service. So I was wondering if there are funds available for professionals to provide these services. And I did notice you have the hotline on one of the websites there, and I wondered, where do you get the professionals that are answering that line, and are they practitioners that are volunteering, or is it somebody that it's a dedicated employment position?
Sure. As far as funding that's available, I'll try to answer quick. I mean, that's something we're working on. Obviously, Texas Department of Agriculture is working on trying to find funds available so that we can provide resources at a lower cost or for free. Obviously that's something a lot of people are working on across the US. But as far as the health line, that is something that they offer for free. Ours is in Texas. There's a few other states that are available. And when you call that line, you can be directed to resources that you're looking for. As far as training, it's through a company called ViaLink, and they are trained to be a crisis line, support, whatever it is that person calls for. They are trained professionals, able to answer that call and direct someone to resources. And what they can do is answer the call and immediately send them to what they're looking for, or stay on the line and counsel them. So they don't have to be transferred a million times to different people. And then anyone who's in the ViaLink staff that's committed to the AgriStress line is specifically trained in farm response. So that's the training you took. So they understand the stressors in agriculture, what they're going through. Obviously, they don't live that, in their life, but that's something that they have an understanding of. So they know where to direct them and what kind of calls and what to say that's appropriate for those in agriculture. So I hope that answers your questions. But yeah, it's what's really unique about the helpline is it's for agriculture, and those answering it understand that.
All right, we have 2 more minutes for Shelby if anybody else has a quick question that they would like to ask her.
I don't have a question, but I'll have a comment. I have spoke more about suicide in the last 60 days, and a lot of it comes from the Tom Hanks movie, Mr. Otto. So this is a prime time where people don't necessarily think you're talking about them, maybe, but you're talking about the movie, which leads into the whole discussion of suicide. And it's amazing where it comes up in conversation, folks that have seen that particular film and was blindsided by the suicide portrayals in it.
I haven't seen that movie, and I've heard good things about it, and I wasn't aware there was the mention of suicide, or if that's what happens in the film. But it really is amazing when I think mainstream kind of media puts it out there, and I think even people in agriculture, anyone feels like it's more okay to talk about because it's more visible, it's out there. We have people in our life that maybe we look up to or respect, and when they bring it up, I mean, it kind of opens a whole new door for that conversation. So I'm glad that maybe that movie's talking about it, or maybe promoting having a conversation about something like that. Okay.
All right, if anybody else has any questions for Shelby, you can go ahead and put those in the chat. And then we're going to switch over to Thao Lee. And for those who came in after we started, Thao is in Hawaii. She has gotten up very early and blessed us with her presence live. So Thao, will let you go ahead and, yep, already sharing screen. There we go. We'll let you take it away. You might be on mute.
Oh, I was just chatting all by myself. Good morning. Aloha, everyone. Maybe it's not good morning for you, but it's good morning for me. The roosters and the chickens are up, and it's very blustery and windy over here in Hawaii. I want to share with you, I am with the Seeds of Wellbeing project. It's SOW, or SOW, as some people call it. It's we've been 15 months in operation, and this is actually our last month. Our funding ends. We've got funding with the Hawaii Department of Ag, USDA-NIFA. It's the Farsan grant. And we've got 3 different objectives, and I want to show you 4 videos. I'm going to show you one video. That's a 3-minute videos, and it's the idea of, it's called Malama the farmer. So everybody seems to know aloha, but maybe you're not familiar with the word malama. So malama means to take care, to care for, and they're in Hawaii, malama aina is very common. It's taking care of the land. So we're trying to do this called Malama the farmer, the idea of elevating respect and appreciation for our ag producer, because in addition to high risk and low profit, there are other factor that affects whether someone exits the farming community or getting young people to be interested in farming is the social status. So it's trying to increase the social status for a Hawaii ag producer. So you can see the video. I'm going to go ahead and hit play. It's just 3 minutes.
We are in beautiful Hawaii. That is where my family's farm is, and that is where my family's farm has been for almost 75 years. We have 2 brands. One is Hawaiian made, and one is Kalea eggs. Well, my grandfather started this farm with my father and my 3 uncles in 1947, and he wanted to be a poultry farmer, an egg farmer. And my family has been here since. We have a rich history. My grandfather immigrated here when he was 16 years old with $10. He moved here because he wanted a better life. And he dreamed of raising a family and being successful. He was a farmer. He was always an entrepreneur. And in 1947, he started this farm. He started this farm with very little. It's amazing, just a lot of hard work and his family. And today, our eggs are in many places. I think farms are part of the foundation of any society. We all have to eat. And if you've got farmers, if you've got source of food, that's the foundation. We're part of the foundation. And we can provide food for people in Hawaii. Why not buy food from your neighbor? Why not buy food from your own ohana? And it's fresher. And fresher is better for sure. you can taste the difference. There is a difference in the texture. There's a difference in the quality of the egg and the shell. And if you've ever cracked open an egg and looked at the yolk, you can see a difference. You know, farming is really hard work, really, really hard work. But in my experience, if you're a farmer here, well, then you're going to be a farmer. The Waianae Range is just, it is very beautiful. And farming happens out here. There are not just us, but pig farmers, lots. And there were cattle farms out here as well. And still today, there are new farms popping up. Produce, it's just a great place to have a farm. And we have some amazing workers. They have been very loyal to us. They're hard workers, and they are a good part of the reason why we're still here. Just trying to see, what do we need to do to continue the legacy of my grandfather, my father, and my 3 uncles. That's a big deal. And we have a lot to be thankful for.
Okay, so can you see now my other screen?
We see you.
Oh no, how about that now?
There you go. All good.
Thank you. So yeah, so being in Hawaii, we're very remote. We're the most remote archipelago. So if we have a hurricane, we're going to be very deep. We only have 5 days worth of food. So there's all this concern about being less dependent on imports. And right now, currently, Hawaii imports 85 to 90% of our food. So there is a big concern and push toward being more sustainable in Hawaii. So, I apologize. Okay. I'm not familiar. Usually I'm in my office, but I'm at home and I'm not familiar with this Apple computer. So we have 3 objectives in our project, the Seeds of Wellbeing, which is only, again, 15 months old. So I wanted to share with you all the stuff that we've been doing in these last 15 months. And we have 3 primary objectives. The first one was just to understand, because a lot of the research around farmer stress and mental health has been on the mainland, and we didn't know anything about what was happening in Hawaii. So first of all, we had to take a temperature check. And before I do that, just a brief landscape in the context of Hawaii. Unlike on the mainland, where you've got huge acres of farm production, in Hawaii, there's only about 7,300 farms, and 2/3 of it is less than 10 acres. So, and it's very diverse agriculture. You've got seeds, we've got cattle, you've got magnuts, you've got tropical ag, you've got floricultures, you've got aquaculture. It's hugely diverse, and including 18 different ethnic languages. Average age of a ag producer in Hawaii is 59 years old. So yes, it's similar to the mainland in that regard. In terms of the budget in the state of Hawaii, the Hawaii Department of Ag only has 0.3% of the state budget. That's even less than 1%. And Hawaii has gone through huge transition in terms of ag productions. When the pineapple and the sugarcane left, it actually relied a lot now on tourism as economy. And so there's this whole revitalization of trying to make agriculture part of the economy, and particularly around sustainability and food security. So what did our research show? So we first had to do, like I mentioned, a mental health check, and we surveyed, and we sent out 2,000 copies to Hawaii. We collaborated with Hawaii Farm Bureau, Hawaii Farm Union United, all the commodity groups, through online Qualtrics. So we got a 408 response. We also included the PHQ-9 to look at the depression. And what did we find? We found that, so farmers and ag producers in Hawaii, 35% scored 5 or greater on that PHQ-9. And how did that compare to the CDC in terms of the general population of Hawaii? That was 22%. And the CDC report in 2021 that used exactly the same measure, and they found among the public health worker 31%. So Hawaii farmers have high risks for depression, as well as suicide. 8% were on suicide. And we've made quite a bit of splash in our local community, and making on the front page news of our star advertiser. We've been on Civil Beat. It's a very popular newspaper here in Hawaii, and Hawaii Public Radio as well. We also looked at we wanted to see the perspectives of the farm family members. And although the sample size here is small, there's only 27 family members in our survey, it did show a pattern of the family members are saying that their primary ag producer in their family has higher stress and depression. These rates are higher than what the ag producers themselves are reporting. Because sometimes, the family members know more than the individual themselves. So what is stressing ag producers in Hawaii? Uncertainty came up the top, and this graph shows you by acre, age, commodity, county, and income. You will see that uncertainty it consistently came out as the top, and I guess uncertainty can be the umbrella of everything: financial, labor costs, the weather, right? Pests, which is a big issue in Hawaii. Hawaii is the pest invasive capital of the world. Well, we've got huge pest problems. So pest is a big one. And livestock and seed producers were the highest in terms of stress and the highest in terms of saying that uncertainty was their predominant risk factor. So we model this article is currently under review, and we wanted to see if you put all the data together and did a regression analysis, logistic regression, what were the primary risk factors? And for Hawaii, being stressed predicted depression. It was statistically significant, 8 times more likely. And what was also really interesting was the media focused coping. So if you were engaged in media focused coping, and if you were under 45 and younger, you were higher risk of experiencing depression. And then what predicted suicide ideation? So we had that one question on suicide ideation, and being depressed was highly, very predictive. Being 45 and younger was also a risk factor. And again, the media focused coping came up as being another risk factor. I'm on the Hawaii Suicide Task Force, and just this last month, February, the epidemiologist was presenting statistics on all the suicide completion that happened in Hawaii between 2015 and 2019. There's 822 total, about 180 to 200 every year. So what came up when they looked at all the files, these 822 files, what were the main predictors of suicide completion? Mood dysregulation and depression. So very similar to what we found with our ag producers of 408. And when I asked the epidemiologist, I go, well, how many of this 822 were in the ag industry? So it was very imprecise because the coding has to take place. But he said he looked through, and there were about 14 in ag, 2 were botanists, and 29 were cooks or chefs. So it was about 3 to 4% of the suicide completion in Hawaii in the last 5 years. Were in the ag industry. And again, depression came up as the main risk factor, which is similar to what our survey revealed. We also conducted 80 qualitative interviews, more in depth, going into looking at what are the challenges and strategies and opportunities with our ag producers. We're still coding through this lot of data. What came up in terms of the resiliency factors is what we call onipaha. So in Hawaii, onipaha is the sense of steadfastness. It's a culturally unique term, but they mention onipaha, the sense that no matter what's happening, all the stressors, the winds that blows, the challenges, you got to have onipaha. Spirituality and relationship with the land also came up very strongly. And there was about 20% mentioned spiritual factors, which didn't show up in the survey, but it came up really strongly in our qualitative interviews, as well as many other findings that we're finding. So objective 2 was to develop resources. So now that we did a temperature check, because we didn't know what was going on with our ag producers in Hawaii in terms of their mental health issue. So how are we going to respond? We looked on the mainland, and because Hawaii is so unique in so many different ways, we felt like we had to take a sort of we call it the avocado approach. So it's kind of like, in a nutshell, what are we doing? We're providing resources at the individual level, but we also wanted to expand and recruit peers and family members in the community. And that's why we did these Malama the Farmer video, to elevate, appreciate, and respect the social status, because farming, as you see, although there's lots of mention, the support has not been there in terms of the resources for farmers in Hawaii. So we did a lot of PSA announcement, we created videos. I'm going to show you some of the other stuff we've done. So the research and our data shows that, yeah, stressors, the more stress you have, likely to predict stress. And those who have a lot of stress, likely to predict depression. Those who have depression, likely to predict suicide ideation. So we did our Cool Mind main thing, which is our stress management strategies. It's been translating in 7 different languages. We have AG mentors who are trained in mental health first aid, 34 of them, as well as QPR. So we've got peer mentors and a voucher program to provide free mental health counseling services as the sort of the support. So this is sort of what we're doing in a nutshell in terms of the specific resources that we're providing. Our extension folks have done 6 workshops across the islands on the actual stressors, like the financial stressors, the production tools, giving them livestock tools and some health tools. So they've done a statewide workshops across the islands, providing some of these resources directly to our ag producers. And we had about 120 of our ag producers attending these workshops. Now, these are our sort of homegrown, ag specific for Hawaii producers. The first one is it's on a called Cool Mind main thing. It's like when you have a cool mind, when you're stressed, how do you manage your stressor? So our resources are being translated right now into 7 different languages because we've got a diverse community here in Hawaii. We also have a peer-to-peer guide for our ag mentors. And this is the exciting part of our program. The one that we've just launched is our ag mentor. And they've all been trained in both the individual resource as well as the peer-to-peer mentor resource. We developed the podcast series. We've got 30 episodes with nearly 1,700 downloads as of last month. It's reached all the way over to Finland and Germany. We've got like 70 folks downloading in Germany and Finland. It's very diverse. Our farmers saying this is great. Even our public are saying this represents like, oh, we're getting educated on all the issues in Hawaii. We've never had such a resource. So it's worthwhile. So here are our ag mentors. So this is the program we're most excited about. We launched, we did a call out who would like to serve as a mental health ag mentors. We had a phenomenal response. 44 people actually wanted to sign up, and this was over the course of 1 month when we did this announcement. But in the end, because they had to go through the QPR training, mental health first aid, and they had to do our Cool Mind main thing training, and they had to do additional continuing education. It was quite a lot, but in the end, we have 34 ag mentors who are now all over the islands, who are equipped with certain tools. I mean, they can't do clinical training, but they can do the voucher. So when they know how to sort of detect the sign, and then they're paired with our voucher program that they can then refer folks to mental health professional in the community. They're so energized and committed. And what are they doing now? They are now, this month, we've got our ag mentors hosting workshops with our support. We'll provide their support, but they're hosting workshops all over the island with the goal of each ag mentor sponsored workshop is going to reach 50 other ag producers in the community. So that's our goal right now, and they think they can do it. We did a post training in terms of how do they feel after they went through this whole trainingship with us. Phenomenal, right? Out of 34, 32 actually did a post-evaluation survey. It was, oh my God, most of the time it's really hard to get that. As you can see, it's very high in terms of they felt like they are confident in their ability to destigmatize mental health. They can discuss with others options for seeking help. They can make a referral to a mental health provider, and they know how to provide a little bit of care and support for those in the ag community. You see that one person that said extremely unconfident. She said she made a mistake, and it should have been, she didn't read the skill. So we kept it as it is because that was the actual data. And so we also bought 50 slots with AgriSafe to do that farm response training so that our mental health providers have some basic skills when they're working with the ag producers. Unfortunately, we've only had a couple of our mental health providers, and we're trying to really get our mental health providers to come on board. because it's free, right? They're getting, there's these AgriSafe training, this farmer response training is free, and it's just really challenging. But right now we actually do have 2 providers who've gone through, and they're getting all their mental health, behavioral health folks to be trained, and then they are serving as our voucher right now, our voucher provider, so that our ag mental health mentors could assist with making those referrals in the event that they really need them. We also provide a chiropractor as well as massage too, in terms as our voucher. Okay. We have an interactive resource hub as well. This is what we developed so that if you're on a certain island and you're looking for resources, whether with stressors or a mental health provider, you actually can go on and find out where you are and how far you are from your mental health provider or from a resource. So it's very interactive. Unfortunately, I'm not sure why this one is not so, people are not so keen on that. And then the last objective is our social marketing campaign. So I introduced you at the beginning with our video in terms of Malama the farmer. That's the idea of elevating respect and care and appreciation for our ag producer for all their hard work. So it's trying to work with the public in certain of the sentiment. And what we just launched and we just completed is a randomized random survey with 400 local residents in Hawaii. So asking Hawaii local residents their willingness to support local ag and how much they're willing to spend more in support. So this just came out. We had 400 responses. Our public really have a positive view of our ag producers and the ag community. 1 out of 5 perceive local ag in Hawaii is very important. Female more likely to focus on sustainability and the sort of the quality of the local produce. Local ag continue to be a viable industry in Hawaii. 83% say this is very important to continue ag in Hawaii as an industry. They do perceive farmers as being very stressed. They recognize that, as well as being very hardworking. Those who have less resources actually have more likely to say that, yeah, farmers are very hardworking. And look at the profitability. Only 2 thinks that farming has high profit, right? Oh my God, it's terrible, right? 56% were willing to spend more. And what is interesting when we dove into this, the folks with the resources say they're willing to spend more, 10 to 50% more to buy local produce, but those who actually buy more have less than 50,000, more likely to be local Native Hawaiian residents. So we also have a PSA announcement. Again, it was blasted for 3 weeks, and this was just here. I'll let you hear it. It's a very short.
Part of why we want people to think about local is it's that deeper connection to the community, to history, to culture, to family.
The most important is to buy local. Look that it's made or it's produced in Hawaii, grown by local people.
Malama the farmer. When you choose to buy local, you support the caretakers of the Aina. This PSA, under the Seeds of Wellbeing project, it's funded by the Hawaii Department of Agriculture and the U.S. Department of Agriculture, NIFA.
And so that was part of our PSA campaign and our social video.
Part of why.
Okay. This is what happens when, this out of control computer. So part of our social marketing was these 4 videos, and you saw one of the videos, and our farmers love these videos. They were like beyond the moon, and we're following up to find out, like, did it have an impact on your ag production? Did it have an impact in folks reaching out? And they go, yeah, one of them, the egg one, the Hlth egg said, we had like a 15% increase in attention, and people were just calling up and said, we saw your videos, or where can we get your eggs, right? So we're trying to finding ways to do more of these, because they really appreciate this, and they really want more of that. So here's my team, my stupendous team, who's really helped me with everything, and here's our extension team. Did I go overboard? Do I have time? Here's my contact. If you have any, oh God, yes.
Yeah, you're all
happy. Okay.
Thao, even if I couldn't have seen your face, I can hear the passion that you have for your project and your voice. And for you to be up this early and be that excited about it, I think we all can tell just how much you love doing this kind of work. I don't have anything to chat, but if you have any questions for Thao, please go ahead and unmute and go ahead and ask your question freely.
Hi, this is Nicole Johnson. Thao, can you share your contact information again? That was quick.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Here, let me put it in the chat. Yes.
And then Thao, those videos, I forgot to look, they're on YouTube, but what are they under?
Oh yeah, so if you go to if you just Google, go Malama the farmer YouTube, you'll see them all.
Okay.
And hi, this is Trish in Texas.
Yes.
And I wanted to thank you for your presentation. It's just an amazing program. I wanted to just give you a hint in regards to reaching out to the mental health providers. In Texas, we had 250 slots for mental health providers, and we contacted the Behavioral Health Executive Council that does the licensing. So it's the state licensing board for our mental health providers, marriage and family therapists, social workers, LMFTs, ACPs, and their mailing list was 71,000 providers. And so it went out to all of them, and we filled those 250 slots. I think right now we're up to 270 some people that have been trained. So if you have a state department that licenses your mental health professionals, I suggest you reach out to them and ask them to distribute your opportunity.
Thank you. I do have somebody who he's the head of the MFT, and he does the mental health HUI is the group that he's connected. And so he said he was going to do it, but I guess he's just really busy.
Yeah, we had like a couple of thousand responses immediately for codes. So it was insane how many we got. So, and they will then in turn be offered the opportunity to become a referral source for our AgriStress helpline if someone calls in and wants further services beyond the helplines.
Oh, that's so wonderful.
Yeah. So just a tip on how you can maybe get some more folks out there.
Thank you.
All right.
Questions.
Yeah. Anybody else have any questions, comments? We have lots of thank yous for that information in the chat. And Thao has her email address up there, and we will send out an email afterwards with the YouTube link and both Thao and Shelby's contact information. All right. Everybody's quiet. Okay, I want to thank you. Shelby had to hop off. She had another meeting, but I want to thank Shelby and Thao for giving us all this information today. And I really like the videos. I think that's the first time we've ever had videos play, and I made sure to save those because we're definitely going to share those on our AgriStress site. So those were wonderful.
Okay.
Nice. And it must have taken everybody a little while to get going at the beginning of the year because we had quite the group today, 41 total. So that's fantastic. Thanks for everybody for coming on.
Thank you, Carrie.
All right, I guess we're all finished. Everyone have a wonderful Wednesday and happy week. Go ahead.
My website. Oh yes, my website. It's the
please.
sow. Okay. Let me. I'm terrible. What? Can you hold 1 second? I have to.
We're okay. You take as much time as you need. It'll be in the chat, and I think our IT person Quay sends that out.
Oh, okay. Let me just yeah, I'm very poor with here it is. I got it. So it's Manoa.hawaii.edu. So well, you would think it's easier, but they don't make it very easy for me. Because so I have to use a Hawaii domain.
Oh, gotcha. Wonderful.
So you're welcome to share that, Karen.
Okay, we'll do that. Perfect.
Yeah. So I will, yeah. There was no question. Did I go too fast?
Nope, you were all good. You're all good. I'll make sure that we send that out as well.
Okay, thank you. Well, you know, our project gets, although the funding ends this month, I'm gonna continue in some way.
Okay, that sounds phenomenal.
Okay.
All right, thank you so much for getting up today, and thank you everyone else for attending today. All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.